Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard. Let's see who we have in the house. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. We also have Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. We also have in the house Joel from Los Angeles, California. Gene Deigel from, I can't remember, but I want to say I think it's Houston, Texas. Bridge MCP from, of course, Binghamton, New York. Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas. And we have Eric Hayes from Atascocita here in the house. All right, let's see what we got here. Egberto, one for the screen with all three follow-ups surrounding this topic, as this is describing embezzlement and sociopathy all rolled up into one. Benjamin Dixon's right on his YouTube community page. Elon Musk is one of the greatest welfare queens in the history of America. Now he's overseeing through Doge the purchase $400 million worth of Tesla Cybertrucks through the RFP as for armored vehicles. Anyway, who has a sense of that? Let's go ahead and put that out on the screen for you, Senor Rudnin. If I can get to it, I think this is it right here. And let's go ahead and get that on the screen for all to see. And it says, no more free lunch. World's poorest gets nothing. Fed funds must get infinite number of bucks. And unfortunately, it is our bucks we're talking about. Thank you for that excellent thing, Senor Rudnin. We have here CBS Senator Richard Blumenthal demanding answers about possible $400 million State Department purchase of Tesla Cybertruck. Senator Richard Blumenthal, the ranking member of the Senate Permanent Committee, said Mr. Musk's dual roles pose conflicts of interest so obvious that they hardly require explanation. The State Department's intent to purchase armored Cybertrucks suggests the conflicts of interest in Mr. Musk's installation of his cronies throughout the government are not being adequately managed and, in fact, are increasing by the minute. In the 15 months since it was released, the Cybertruck has been widely derided and subject to at least 6 separate recalls. It's a piece of crap. Indeed, Tesla has reportedly had disastrous sale numbers for the Cybertruck. It hardly seems like the type of reliable vehicle the State Department would want for contract absent heavy thumb on the scale. And it turns out, man, even in Europe, his sales are down the drain. His sales are down the drain in Europe. Okay, continuing. CBS USAID Inspector General reports almost $500 million in food aid at the risk of spoilage as it sits in port, ships, and warehouses after funding for the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, paused by the Trump administration, according to February 10th report from the government watchdog. The report from USAID Inspector General highlighted the risk of safeguarding and distributing $8.2 billion in unspent humanitarian aid after the Trump administration ordered almost all staff to be replaced on leave and ordered a review of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Program. USAID, which provides humanitarian aid to and more than 100 countries, buys food directly from whom again? From the United States farmers. So he is screwing his farmers. Okay, with USAID funding pause, there is concern among U.S. farmers about the market for some of their products, including Kansas sorghum producers, according to other Topeka Capital Journal. While the future of USAID funding and its purchases from the U.S. farmers remains unclear, it's worth noting that it's a whole bunch of money. All right, CBS Musk is not an employee. I read that already. You guys can read that one. It's too long. But let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says a Frederick Douglass parade is canceled because honored a black hero during BHM now violates Trump's anti-DEI order. The Maryland National Guard withdrew, citing new Pentagon rules against identity months. Erasing events honoring past black leaders won't erase the truth. And it's funny, right? Because they would like to celebrate Christopher Columbus, who was nothing more than a genocidal murderer, right? Christopher Columbus, the ones we revere, we even have a holiday for him, but he was a genocidal murderer. But hey, it's okay to have something for him. What can I say? Former Vice President Mike Pence is speaking out against President Donald Trump. He sure did. He said Donald Trump need to stop lying. The road to peace must come built on truth. Stop lying, Trump. Even your former vice president says it. Gene Deigel says, tell me why was Trump and Musk being interviewed when if Musk is not leading the doji that it's listed on the executive order Trump signed on day one? How about those gases, and grocery price. I know, and the media needs to call him out more, but they're not doing it. A leaked internal strategy document from Vladimir Putin's executive office, maintained by Yahoo News, lays out a detailed plan on how Russia plans to take full control over neighboring Belarus in the next decade under the pretext of a merger between the two countries. Amazing. Bruce Fowler said, well, here we are again. Yes, Bruce, and it's great to see you here. I trust that your eye, by now, not completely healed. You still probably have to wear that piece on your eye for a bit, and you can't get it wet as much, but I hope you're doing fine. Gene Daigle is in Alvin, Texas. Registered at Egberto. Gene Daigle, Alvin, Texas. Thank you, brother. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia is in the house. Great to see you, my beautiful Yvette. All right, let's see what else we got here. Bree says, Egberto, a group I belong to, went to Doge website and downloaded the info so you can see. Put a file to look at what I think it's Excel. She wanted to verify whether their claim $55 billion in savings actually adds up. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't. Not only doesn't it add up, but they did where they said they saved $8 billion. I think it was CNN or WAPO or one of them. After doing the research, it saved $8 million. $8 million. What can I say? Lying is endemic in their ways, right? Lee Grant says, hey all. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. How are you doing, Lee? Great to have you here. Bruce Pollard said, are electric vehicles safer than gas-driven when used for military purposes? I don't know. Actually, we need to revisit a lot of stuff about the electric vehicles to make them safer. There are a lot of things that, remember yesterday, I like to be honest about what I talk about. There was a big fire in California at a battery storage place, right? I think this place stored power so that when the wind isn't blowing or the air or the turbines aren't turning because of no wind. If I understand it correctly, I think they store energy. But anyway, there was a fire, and the claim is that these fires are not put out, but they're left to burn. The problem is the oxides and other elements that these batteries left in the soil presents a problem, right? So while it's clean energy when everything works right, I mean, let's be clear. Petroleum energy is always dirty, right? It always gives off CO2. It always gives off nitric oxide and all the other oxides. It always gives these things off. So it is a exponential polluter. Well, I shouldn't say exponential. Well, yeah, we grow exponential, so it's an exponential polluter. While when we have cadmium and these other rare earths that get out of whack in a battery location, that is pretty much something that happens when there are accidents. The same thing with nuclear reactors, right? So we have to get honest about how we look into green energy and how do we mitigate risks. Because while this big plant explosion in California gives a lot to be that we must revisit, including certain new types of nuclear power. I don't have enough knowledge on these purported new type of reactors that don't have the issues of storage, etc. I'm not sure. But what I'm saying, as progressives, we cannot allow ourselves not to be honest, completely honest in the promotion of green energy, the risks of some of the parts of green energy that we support, because we know we are on the right side of history. We don't need to lie or hide things that need to be mitigated where it comes to green energy. So answering that, Bruce, why did you make me go off on a tangent? Love you, brother. All right. Paul Fleming says, over 1,000 employees fired at the Kansas City IRS office. Over 75% of them in submission processing are the team that handles paper returns. There are only 2 sites in the U.S. still handle paper returns, and KC is one. Hope you filed electronically. Otherwise, you wait forever for your taxes. All right. Donald Trump has reportedly spent an estimated $10.7 million worth of taxpayer money to play golf since his inauguration. That is maybe Doge need to do something about that, right? Okay, a friend of mine this is from Steigen Bugenkirk, was saying Trump firing people is legal. He told me to look up Spicer versus Biden. I did, and I am furious. Oh, no, it is legal. Look, Trump is the executive, okay, guys? The way separation of powers work, he is the one who runs the executive. They tell him how to spend the money, but then within the executive, people have bargaining rights and other kinds of rights. And yes, it is true. Donald Trump can fire people in the executive. What has to be done is to make it very difficult for him to want to fire people. Every congressperson can fire their staff. But again, civil servant rules and all of that is a sort of union that protects them. So yeah, you don't need to be mad about that. Actually, we want the executive to be able to fire people, but we also want to be able to hire good executives and fire bad ones. We had fired Donald Trump. Unfortunately, many of the people that he intends to screw, including many of those that got laid off, they voted for him. We did our part. All right. Musk says 400 million people are getting SSI benefits, but they only issued $68 million check. Genius. That is far. Look, I always told you that. Musk is not a very smart dude. He is an economist. Again, his degree is in economics, and he got a BA in, I can't remember what it is. But this is not an engineer, and this is not a very smart guy. Being smart has nothing to do with being a billionaire, right? We all look at Bill Gates. I love Bill Gates. I think Bill Gates is a nice guy. He's one of the nice billionaires, but he didn't earn it either. Bill Gates did a lot of stuff to get his billions. He went to Seattle and stole MS-DOS. He didn't steal it really. He had capital. He had 50 grand from daddy or somewhere. And he just bought it out of the guys, not telling them that all he was going to do is license it somewhere else, right? And that's how he became rich. It was a pure capitalist move, not an intelligence move, not an economic, not a science move. It's just a capitalist move. Capitalism has no soul. All right. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome to the program, my dear beautiful lady. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to have to go down a little bit quicker. You're looking better. Thank you. Oh, so you can see me now, Bruce. No more cataracts to block the view of this big face in the screen. All right. Michael says, Egberto, that long one you skip can be put shorthand. Musk is not a cabinet secretary who was confirmed by the Senate. The lawsuit and Trump's reaction means that Trump is directing Musk and his underlings directly so that when Doge messes things up royally, it will be Trump that is eventually held accountable. That's what I've been saying for a long time we need to do, brother Rudnin. That said, Trump has never taken accountability for anything, and it will take another impeachment in 2027 requiring a Democratic majority in order to make him take accountability. Meantime, Musk is diverting food resources from the poorest people in order to enrich himself through the crap-armored Cybertruck sales to the government. You understand this corruption? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, let's see what else we have now. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Good AI. Replying to Bruce Pollard, good AI Swan. When comparing the safety of military vehicles to gas-powered vehicles, current research indicates that in terms of occupant safety pressures, they are generally considered equally safe, but EVs may offer advantages in terms of stealth and logistics due to their quieter operation and reduced heat signature while preventing challenges regarding battery vulnerability and charging infrastructure in combat situations. However, the military is actively exploring ways to mitigate these concerns at advanced battery technology and charging solutions. Thank you for that, Radin. We can always count on Radin to do some research for us. All right, I'm scrolling down. Joe says green energy is better except when, like anything else, greed gets in the way of good technology, profit instead of quality. I love that you said that, Joe. I love that you said that. Right? Anything can be dangerous. Even water can be dangerous, right? I love that you said that. That was an important statement, Joe. Alistair Waters is in the house. How you doing, Alistair from Conroe, Texas? Welcome to Politics Done Right. Hey, E2247, I have never said where you are from. Can you give us an approximation if you don't want to tell us specifically? All right, Bridge MCP said, Paul, his genius programmers didn't know that COBOL language, didn't understand it, so they didn't know the date time interpretation and read it as people over a certain, say, 150 years old. They're not very smart. Julia Barrett says, thank you to Paul Fleming. And Paul says the IRS is like the U.S. government sales and loss prevention department. Despite its unpopular reputation, it generates $415 for every dollar in funding. That's mind-boggling return on investment. Won't you say? All right. What else have we got? Boy, you guys started with a lot of commentary early. Okay. Well, Alice Aaron Dreams from Summerwood, Texas. Thank you, our beautiful Alice Aaron Dreams, for being here with us. Okay. Let's see what else I got here. All right, guys. My daughter sent me a link, and this link, I had to put it into the show today. And let me tell you why. This is a Republican, and I found both the YouTube video. She sent me the TikTok. What I also in the blog for the program, there will be a link to the lengthy 35-minute video. The TikTok is substantially shorter. But the issue here is it's not cobalt, Mike Cisak, it's COBOL. I tell you, you guys are amazing. Anyway, this is important because it shows you that Republican politicians, your general purpose Republican politicians know the truth. But because of their what is the word that I want to use? Cognizant dissonant. They refuse to see the answer that is very simple. This congressman, this Republican congressman from Arizona gets it. But the solution, this poor guy doesn't seem to get. And he's in this particular video, it's not going to have anything about solutions. So let me show you the video. And then we'll go and move it to the other side. So let's get it here. Okay, why is it saying trouble playing again? Let's see if I can play it again. Refresh. Come on now. Oh, my God. It was supposed to be here. Let's see if we can get it done. I want to see. There we go.
I want you and everybody else to see something. This came from a Republican's mouth. Okay? Give me a second.
Last night I could barely sleep because I had read report after report after report, and the math was devastating. If you add it all up, by 2035, you have over $74 trillion in debt. That 40,000 federal employees leaving is a single day of borrowing. Yet I watched someone on television last night saying, well, look, we're going to make a huge dent in the U.S. deficit with these 40,000 taking early retirement. It's one day of borrowing. Okay, so someone yesterday said, okay, let's get rid of the federal subsidy on tax-exempt bonds for stadiums. Okay, great. We calculate that's about 6 or 7 seconds of borrowing for a year. Really popular ones. Department of Education salaries. So if you get rid of the Department of Education salaries, and I think this is all of them, is about $2.75 billion for 9 hours of borrowing. Had this the other day. Let's get rid of healthcare for those who are here illegally. This is the emergency services for undocumented. So we calculate that to be about $2.1 billion a year. This is the emergency healthcare on undocumented. Okay, got you another 9 hours. So let's actually go to something a little bigger. Let's get rid of the foreign aid. Okay, foreign aid's gone. You got yourself a week. How many times, those of us on the right, I've been in a debate with another Republican, if we just didn't have foreign aid, we'd be fine. Okay. Now, you've got to deal with the reality of what that does to our military, our footprint in the world, protecting the reserve currency. Why are we the reserve currency? Because we have a footprint, we protect the trade routes, but look, you should know that from your history. But you just wiped it out. You just covered a week of borrowing. The famous pie chart. Everything a member of Congress votes on is borrowed money. Every dime in defense is borrowed money. Every dime in non-defense discretionary is borrowed money. I think last fiscal year, $400 billion of earned benefits. But let's actually now have the other thing where I'm going to start to really make a couple of my brothers and sisters annoyed around here. United States, according to the Census Bureau from last month, will have more deaths than births in 8 years. Not a single country in the world, and this is not just the United States, it's basically all the industrialized countries, and much of the world is way ahead of us in this almost dystopian collapse of there being young people. The other stupidity we engage in this country is we educate people in our fine universities, and we send them home to compete with us. Wall Street Journal today actually has an article on drug discovery and drug research and how fast China is basically competing with us now in new biologics and those things. And the basic premise is that we educated the very people that are competing with us because we sent them home because we're idiots. And yet I will get folks who will right now, pounding out texts saying, but I don't want foreigners in there. Do you want us to be able to pay your Medicare bills? Turns out, as an economist, you can't hit the number without a talent-based, STEM-based immigration system. You just can't. Because here's your problem. We built the models. So we're going to extend expensing for research and development. So we're doing things better, faster, cheaper. What happens when the very companies that are doing that, the research labs that are doing it, continue to show up in my office and say, we can't get enough people. We're being squeezed. We're going to have to do part of the research on the other side of the world. Have we lost our minds? Oh, but David, you can't tell that. That will upset someone. Because, and this chart I know is almost impossible to read. Its punchline is very simple. Unless we have this productivity spike, we're going to get poorer.
Unless we have that conversation, we're going to get poor. But the problem with what he's talking about, and this is what I want to get, folks. He understands the problem. It's math. You know, I always use that as an excuse. I always say, look, guys, the reason billionaires have no right to exist, it's math. They didn't do it. They didn't create that. It's math. And the same thing with the deficit. Here, this guy is talking about this huge, huge deficit. And what does he want to do? He wants to support Donald Trump, who is about to give a huge tax cut, even as we have a huge deficit. So he knows the problem, but in his dystopian mind, again, he doesn't want to change the tax side of the equation. And he claims that he wants people to get good health care. And what does he want to do over 30 years? Make sure that the increase in tax receipts are greater over time than the increase in Medicare, which makes no in social programs, which makes no sense. Why doesn't it make any sense? You don't declare your you don't put your healthcare based on taxes. You put your taxes based on healthcare. You put your taxes based on the services the society needs to provide. But the other thing is here, they claim they want to do something about the budget. Yet, they don't understand that, wait, why is Medicare exploding? Because we don't have Medicare for all. Why do we spend so much on Medicaid? Because we don't have Medicare for all. Why do we spend because we are taking away 20-30% of the money, if not more, right off the top in healthcare. That's why healthcare is so big. If we want to solve the healthcare problem, we could solve the healthcare problem tomorrow. The problem is all the parasites that have been taking our monies, all these year after year after year, they will have to stop taking that money. They can no longer get that money, because it's free money for them. So here we go. This guy knows it. I was so proud for this clip that the brother put on the screen, right? But I was so disappointed when I went to see the entire video and read the transcript of the video. Because in effect, he knows the problem, but he's also saying, but our Democratic friends want to say, just raise taxes. But that'll have an effect on the GDP. Says who? Let me tell you guys the biggest lie out there. The biggest lie is that tax cuts create more economic activity than spending. It's the biggest lie out there, and we know it. Every economist knows that when you start drawing those curves, it is impossible that tax cuts can generate more income, meaning more economic activity than spending. And why is that the case? That is the case because when an economic activity is determined by how often that dollar circulates. When you give a tax cut to people who already own a lot of money, they don't immediately throw that into the economy. They may invest, not necessarily here in the United States. They may just throw a whole lot of that money in the Cayman Islands. And as we deficit spend to give them tax cuts, they loan us back their monies. So we pay them twice, thrice actually. We give them a tax cut, that's extra money in their pockets. They sell us back the tax cut. It's the form of bonds, debt. So now they get a free stream of money from the best government in the world. The federal government pays them every month to use the money that we gave them back. We borrowed it back from them and then pay them to borrow it. And on the corporate side, when they are, that causes those stock prices to go up. And what is that called again? Capital gains. And when those prices go up, guess what? Capital gains are not taxed at the same level of standard income. And if you keep it as capital gains, or rather, if you keep it as stocks and just loan your stocks to an insurance company, and that insurance company, give that stock to an insurance company, and then that insurance company loans you money, you know how much you're responsible in taxes? Zero. Our MAGA folks get screwed so badly by a system they do not understand. And by supporting these guys that support these policies, and by the way, our neoliberal Democrats do the same. I'm not taking them off the hook at all. All these financial instruments are there to support the wealthy, and they're supported by neoliberal in both parties as well as by MAGA in groves. So they enjoy being screwed. It is such an amazing thing. So that Republican guy, that Republican congressman, his name is David Schweikert. David Schweikert, Republican of Arizona. Have the link to the YouTube that you should all read. It's about 35 minutes long, the YouTube version of what I just played. And I think it's instructive because he knows that Democrats are going to come back and say, let's just tax a little bit more. And let's go ahead and socialize our delivery of medicine, meaning that we pay the bill, one pair. And that saves us all billions upon billions. I mean, it's been the calculations have been run over and over again. So this isn't conjecture. We understand what it's going to be all about, but you have to be willing to do it. And this congressman, while he understands the problem perfectly, he fails to talk about a solution. All right. Yesterday, I was once again very proud of Jasmine Crocket. Jasmine Crocket, after listening to Jasmine, I wanted to say, hey, Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket, have you been listening to some of our TikToks? Because you know what? When we talk about the hospitals in rural zones, when we're talking about going and talk to our MAGA brothers and sisters in the rural zones, you know, so many Democrats just say, let's not do that. Let's just maximize our base. To which I said, hogwash. We need to talk to everybody because our policies support everybody. And man, Jasmine Crocket, Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket, knocked it out of the park. Let me play that. Leaders like Jasmine Crocket in the Congress gives me hope that the Democratic Party, if they follow her lead, will do well. Right now, everybody is in limbo, but she's out there in the field with the proper communication, with the proper narrative. And today, she gave a doozy on Chris Hayes' show. It was today narrated by Ali Velshi. But I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side, because this is extremely important what she's saying. It is something that I've been preaching now for several years, and it just seems like the Democratic Party, run by all the wrong consultants, refused to do what needed to be done. And she nails it. Check this out.
A lot of people are talking about, you know what, we just are looking forward to the midterms. We only need 3 more seats. I'm sure everybody's tired of getting emails, text messages, phone calls, trying to raise money. But the reality is that we have an opportunity right now. I know that a lot of people look at these seats that are available, which there's going to be a total of 3, and they say these are deep red seats. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. We saw that in the state of Iowa, they swung a seat 27 points so that a Democrat could win. I say we have nothing to lose. We need to go out. We need to talk to those people that finally understand that the only mission that Donald Trump has is making sure that he can line his pockets, line Elon's pockets, and any other billionaire, all at our expense. It's not just going to be the people you dislike that are going to miss out on their Medicare, Medicaid, or their Social Security. Or down in the state of Florida, where 2 of these seats are, they are talking about getting rid of FEMA. It is time to wake up. And it doesn't mean that you're a Democrat if you vote Democratically.
So this is where I want to get to. Who's the audience to swing some of these states? Is it progressives who understand that their priorities are being crushed? Or is it people who voted Republican, to whom you say, you didn't vote for this, did you? Exactly. You didn't vote for Elon Musk and a guy named Big Balls to have your documentation. Yeah. How does that message get out there in a way that entire audience hears it?
I think that you're right. Definitely the entire audience. I just don't know how many progressives exist in Matt Gaetz' former district, right? But I do think that there are farmers in that district, farmers that are concerned because they rely upon monies as it relates to USAID and other monies that are now being dismantled. And it means that you may lose your family farm. It may be bought up by a corporate organization. And so I think just having very real conversations, we've seen people who have talked about, well, we don't want you firing the people at the VA, or maybe it's somebody that has to fly all the time. And they're concerned because we have a record number of planes literally falling out of the sky because he decided he was going to appoint some guy from Fox to be over transportation. But at the end of the day, there were those that never believed that we could end up with 2 senators in the state of Georgia, and we did. There were those that never believed we could have a Democrat representing Alabama, and in that special election, we did. So I think if there's any point in time that the people should rise up and figure out where should I focus my attention, it's on these special elections, and it's having real conversations on the doors with real people talking about what's really happening and not the lies that they're putting out there. We've got to go into their territory. We've got to explain to people in rural America, the reason that you don't have hospitals is because of their policies. The reasons you're not going to have schools is because of their policies. The reason that you had access to more jobs, more healthcare, as well as the next level of farming was because Democrats were the ones that wanted to make sure that you could have broadband access. We've got to start having the conversations instead of just ceding the territory, because the reality is that right now they're trying to cut SNAP benefits. You know who uses more SNAP benefits than anybody else? It's rural America. It's not urban America. We have a story for every single person who's not a billionaire in this country, and it's time for us to tell it.
Jasmine Crocket nails it. Yes, you have to go into every neighborhood, every district, every single part of this country and earn those votes. We have a lot of work to do because we have seeded rural areas. We have seeded many in the working class for so long that we have to build up a level of trust that's going to take some time. But as she pointed out, that district in Iowa that was completely turned around, what Americans are starting to see with this complete decimation of the United States agencies, etc., many of these people, when they realize, oh, by the way, I am on SNAP, my parents are on SNAP, a few of my people are on Medicaid, my mother's on Social Security, when they start figuring out all these things, that it actually affects them more than anybody else. And of course, we must add that we should not forget that Donald Trump promised that on day one, grocery prices would fall. On day one, he would do all these great things. Yeah, hyperbole, of course. Does his people believe what he was talking about was hyperbole? Well, some of them maybe, but people were expecting results. They knew, many of them knew they were making a bad choice, but at least they thought they were going to get some sort of result to justify the error that they made. So it leaves a crack in the door for you to go in there. And as you know, all the Republicans right now are Trump sycophants, whether they really are or not. On outwardly, they're constantly sucking on Donald Trump. So here is the deal, folks. Now is the time. Jasmine Crocket, Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket, nails it. Those 3 House seats that are going to be up for election, we could have a monumental change in the next few months where Congress flips from Republican to Democrat, if we stop seeding folks by saying that's a red county, that's a red district. Go earn that vote. Let these people in these rural areas, in these very red areas, understand that what you're bringing is not hope. You're bringing solutions. What you're bringing are not lies. They're solutions. And you know what? After seeing Trump in action for just 3 weeks, and after they would have seen him in action for just a few months, I am pretty sure they're going to say unified government right now with Trump at the head, it's not going to work. Jasmine Crocket, Representative, Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket, the best communicator in the House. Actually, the absolute best communicator in the House. And Gene Daigle, thanks for calling those out. Florida 1, Florida 6, and New York 21. And here's the deal. You remember Donald Trump got great support from Cubans? You remember Donald Trump got great support from Venezuelans? And then he turned around immediately and canceled the status of a lot of Cubans and Venezuelans. And a lot of these people have a lot of relatives in the Miami area, in the Fort Dade area, in the Fort Lauderdale area, on the I-95 corridor, on the what is that one that goes across? I think it's called the whatever the left-right one is. They have a lot of folks so they're pissed. They're making TikToks and videos talking about Donald Trump. You deceived us. Donald Trump, you lied to us. So those two places in Florida are good case for a pickup. The I-4 corridor. Thank you, Daigle. The I-4 corridor. Let me just tell you also, and why New York 21 is a good pickup opportunity. Look up the word SALT. The sales tax that a lot of these people buy homes and they used to be able to write off their sales tax. So in order to give the big shots a big tax cut, they took away the little tax cut for sales tax on homes and cars and all of that mainly went, supported folks in the Northeast that have these higher taxes. So they weren't able to write it off. So now Democrats have great options for why New York 21 should go to Democrats and why Florida, Florida 1 and Florida 6 should go to a Democrat. And with that, guess who becomes Speaker of the House? Yes, he becomes Speaker of the House. I didn't call the name. It slipped my mind. Anyway, so yes, folks, it's right there. And that is what she's talking about. That is what Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket is talking about. And by the way, Joanne, thank you for giving me a call out on my buddy this morning. Okay, what what's wrong with my mind today? Tom Hartman, thanks for giving me a shout out on Tom Hartman this morning. I appreciate you for that. Anyhow. Oh, by the way, folks, I have a new tier on YouTube. So anybody on YouTube who wants to subscribe today can subscribe for that YouTube. When you join YouTube today, I have a new tier. We have the $2.99 tier that gives you the site on the website that gives you the access to all the early stuff or stuff that is just for our members. But now we have the 99 cents one. So if you are listening to us on YouTube, consider joining us. Consider helping us promote this progressive message and enlighten people, including some of our MAGA brothers and sisters in the chat. We are here every day, twice a day. Consider clicking that join button. It's 99 cents to be a paid supporter, and we give you a few perks for that. Of course, we'd like you to subscribe to our newsletter. That you can go to politicsandright.com/newsletter to do that. Anyhow, let me get back to the read. And I think I saw something here that Brother Rudnin asked me to read, but I can't find it. I want to put my last two comments together. That's the wrong one, I think. Let me see if I can find it, because, I like to. Rudnin does a lot of research for us and Bridge MCP. So for those who always go and look those things up real quickly, I like to make sure and give them their kudos on the screen. All right, Egberto, image for the screen from Paul Fleming's article. Let's go ahead and put that there. All right, let's go again and put that here. All right, allocated. Oh, that didn't that fly? Yeah, that should be there now. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen. All right, waiver in support. Allocated bilateral aid to Ukraine cumulative. European countries gave approximately 100 and that looks like between 120 and 140 billion, while the United States gave between 100 and 120 billion dollars. And you know what is so sad about that? A lot of that money, including the ones from the Europeans, came right back to United States, because where do they get their guns again? The United States of America. That's where they get their guns and their bullets. Well, France does their own thing as well, but still, they buy a lot of our stuff. Look, so let's go ahead and see what else we got here. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. I'm still trying to get all this stuff put together. All right. He had another picture image that he wanted me to put up. Is that right? Let's see if that's a different one. Oh, that's the story itself. Which countries provide the most and least support to the Ukraine? All right. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the screen. All right. Let's get back to what else we're talking about here. All right. Para ver. Gene Daigle. Paul says, last word, MSNBC. Lawrence, because of Musk and Trump, for the first time, Social Security payments are not guaranteed. Okay. Got you. All right, Rudnin threw me a mulligan. Oh, here he goes. Egberto, please read this one out for your conservatives in the chat. It says the following. Conservatives want to steal from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, programs we all have paid into in order to solve their debt crisis. Here's the funny part. If we get rid of private health care, push Medicare for all, we'd actually save how much again? $450 billion per year, while having 1 million fewer bankruptcies and 70,000 fewer deaths from people enduring denial of coverage. Love that. Hey, my brother E2247, thank you so kindly for I think that's a subscription. Thank you so kindly. Or is that a super chat? Guys, I'm still learning this stuff, right? I don't understand the money part very well. So anyway, thank you so kindly for that, Mr. E2247. You still didn't tell me where you're from, E2247. You should at least give us a vicinity. We like to call that out. All right, what else have we got here? Stagan Bergen Greek says, I got an email from the Canadian Embassy. They will not process my immigration visa at this time due to a backlog. They recommend reapplying in 3 to 6 months. Yep. Because everybody wants to go to Canada right now. Canada, you get better healthcare, you live a longer life, and people are just nicer. You know what? It's so funny. People see some of the people on the right in Canada going crazy, right? But these are people on the right who haven't a clue what it's like to live in the United States. They haven't got a clue what it's like to live in the United States, and see the problems that we have here. And I wish more people would speak on it, because one of the problems with Americans is that we know how to do something in silence. Americans are a people that suffer in silence. I mean, if you go to Panama and somebody doesn't have something, first of all, let me tell you about Panamanians. We don't starve because everything is green in Panama 24/7. So if you're starving, you can always go a little bit into the country and cut you some bananas off of a tree somewhere, get you some yucca growing somewhere. There are always ways for you to eat in Panama. That's why you don't see people starving in Latin American countries, right? You don't. Now, you may ask, so what happened to Africa? Africa is a different story with how colonization has evolved there. Africa had some of the worst colonists, period. I mean, all colonists are bad, right? But they had some of the worst. So that's another story of how the famines come about. And plus, doesn't help that some people are in the desert. Patrick, thank you so kindly, my dear brother. We are 2 out of 10 for the goal. 2 out of 10 for the goal. I love you, Patrick. Love you, E2247. We can still hit that goal, guys. Those of you on YouTube, we're at 2 out of 10. Anyway, so yeah, folks, look. We're in the same boat. And anybody want to call can call now, by the way, because I don't have anything else all I'm doing now is rambling, because I'm done with my videos. I'm done with the actual stuff that I want to put out. The last story is too long for me to go into and start right now. So if anybody wants to call at 281-823-7747, please feel free to do so. The platform is yours. If you have something that you say, if you want to complain about something that I've said, whatever, the platform is yours. 281-823-7747. One more time, 281-823-7747. All right, let's see what else I've got here to read. Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, E2247. My goal was 10 out of 10. We are at 2 out of 10. All right, let's see what we got here. What else have we got here? Getting a phone call. See you tomorrow. All right, Michael Rudnin. We'll talk tomorrow. We started in Africa. Humans change forests into deserts. Yep. All right. I'm scrolling back up to see what else we've got. Trump did eliminate SALT in 2017. So that is on Trump. And we have Brother Magner on the line right now. So, Brother Magner, talk to me.
Taking has stopped.
Well, you were saying that Africa was different, and yes, it was. That's arguably where civilization started.
Mm-hmm.
Since human beings were there the longest, that's why it's a desert.
True.
If you read literature, if you believe it, that's 2,000 years old. They call it the land of milk and honey. We consumed and overbred, and we turned forests into deserts.
Oh, so you're saying that the Sahara, you think was a forest before, right?
It was not a desert, for sure.
Okay.
And I mean, the story of Gilgamesh says a lot. The treasure that most Middle Eastern kings and civilizations saw was lumber. That was where they got their start. the Lebanese flag has a cypress tree on it.
Mm-hmm.
The roads were first constructed on dead trees. They would split trees, and they would create roads with them. And that's we denuded forests, and then we had poor agriculture where forests used to be, and forests only have a soil depth of 3 to 6 inches. It's sand underneath it. It's a closed loop. A tree drops leaves. The leaf decays typically from either mold or from an insect, and then it becomes something that eventually becomes soluble through cations into the tree. It's a closed loop, goes over and over. Well, when you cut that down, that system's broken. And then you can farm on it for 6 months, maybe a year or two, and then it is completely depleted of carbon and the basics, the upper nutrients and lower nutrients for agriculture.
So let me ask you something, Patrick, from your research. Do you know if they've ever? I know that the oil companies do a lot of drilling, let's say in the desert, right? Do you know if they have columns that they have returned, meaning different layers of the ground up and until they reach the oil? Well, think about it. Wait a minute. Do you know if the genesis of the oil in Saudi Arabia and all these places are plant-based or animal-based?
The largest field in the world and in Saudi Arabia is GWAR, the Gore field. That was discovered, I think, early 20th century, maybe around 1910, 1920, 1930, somewhere in there. Don't test me on that, but that was all algae. And what happened was that was during one of the extinctions, probably either 130 million years ago or 90 million years ago, and that was ocean. And what happened was the oceans got warm enough to where currents were shut off. That's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing this. We're seeing events that actually created this oil. Now, oil is the carbon in oil is a closed loop too. If it's in the atmosphere, there are systems that are inherent with the planet that return that to the soil.
We know the loop.
Tectonics crushed single-celled organisms, mostly plankton, algae. Algae was a big player. For some reason, people think that oil comes from dinosaurs. No, it comes from algae mainly. And it was folded over, and then it was at a depth that they call what's the kitchen. And the kitchen will produce either natural gas, oil, shale, depending on its pressure and its depth. It has to have the mass or the weight of water and plate tectonics to essentially crush it. And you can't have currents at that time. Currents shut down when we have too much carbon in the atmosphere. It's part of the mechanism.
Great. By the way, what's your source on this now, my brother?
There's numerous documentaries. Caltech has a streaming theater, and Professor Coldman, I think, has several good books. Has a lot of lectures. Once you start researching energy or peak oil, this is all. You run into thousands and thousands of
articles,
sources.
Right. Well, look, thank you for that.
Goldstein is the professor.
Look, we're out of time. Okay. Brother. But here's the deal. I appreciate that. I learned something today. Remember what I told you guys? We have the collective. There's nothing like the collective mind. Nothing like the collective mind. And you bring a whole lot to the program, Brother Patrick Magner. Appreciate your information. All right.
Yeah, have everybody look up Gilgamesh. That was actually taming the forests of the Middle East that are now.
Yeah, actually, Gene Daigle already did. Professor David Goldstein. Okay, we'll check that out. Look, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. We'll talk tomorrow, brother Magner. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Anyway, folks, thank you all for being here. Please remember, we have this on YouTube. We have a new tier, a 99-cent tier. If you want to support, independent media, and you really don't have the $4.95 that we have for the newsletter, try 99. Support us however you can. Go to our YouTube channel and click join. Become a member, and you get all the stuff early. But folks, one of the best ways to support us, like I constantly say, and we appreciate it much, is if you become paid subscribers of our newsletter, and you can find that at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Of course, you can become a patron as well by going to politicsdoneright.com/patreon. That has a lot of offers as well. But again, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We're trying to build up that base. And Gene Daigle, thank you for the information. I am going to bookmark that and add that to my reading repertoire, because again, you guys, collective mind, us informing each other, there's nothing like that. And I wish our brothers and sisters on the right hand side of the aisle would open their minds more to the scientific mindset so that we can all learn together. That's what it's all about. Anyway, folks, got to get out of here. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Become a paid subscriber. You'll be helping put the message across. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.